Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Vino Volley. I'm your host, Michael Wall, and along with me is my very handsome co-host, Ryan Rebecki. So,
Thank you very
Guy,
much.
how are we doing?
We are well. We are towards the tail end of March.
Yeah, yeah.
It's still raining outside.
Oh my God, brutal.
Yeah,
What a
not,
deluge of a day.
I've used the term deluge several times in the last 24
It's
hours.
a good smart person word.
Yeah.
Or, makes you feel smart.
I say it in my classroom, my kids look at me with like a blank stare. They
Yeah.
don't know.
They don't know.
They're on the Tic Tac and the face chats and the
God,
snap books,
I don't. I don't.
the rap music and the
Eleanor's
telephones.
gonna have a beeper. I'm gonna start a bill to or pass that they put payphones back in schools so that's how my child will get a or like bring back the like that indestructible Nokia,
The
like
best phone ever.
the not so smartphone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's
no, we're good. We open up next weekend with soccer. Excited to get back on the pitch
yeah.
with the whistle. Never leave home without it. And I'm excited that the international break is over
Yeah.
and we're back in
Pretty
action
much
Premier League.
unscathed as far as Liverpool is concerned. A
Yeah,
little scare on Andrew Robertson, but all in all, pretty good.
yeah. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Counting down the hours till I actually take a flight across the pond to see Liverpool this coming weekend.
You're going.
I'm going, and I'm very thankful that it will be in another country where some people will probably see me shed tears for the first time in years because I don't want any of my, friends and family to see. So, yeah, so I'm going to go see Jurgen Klopp at the helm at Anfield against Brighton and a mix of emotions, but mostly excited. Well, obviously, I'll be able to talk about it when we come back in April. But yeah, what about you? Besides coaching, any?
We're turning the corner at school. The end is near. It's like April starting on Monday, and the countdown begins. I think we're at 53 days remaining. I'm not counting.
No, of course not.
But soccer is firing it up. Excited about that. And just waiting for the sun to come out so I can start doing things outside, get in my shop, build some stuff, do yard work, and just get outside, not look through my window and just put one hand on the window, one single tear coming down my cheek.
Here.
Yeah. But that's it. It's same old, looking forward to tonight's episode.
Yes, very much so. And as I think a long time in a while, we didn't offend the English in any way.
Nope.
So we have no cultural correction hour. We don't have any honesty hour. I think everything was on the level. We didn't have to make any retractions.
We're improving.
You know what? We're growing.
We're growing. We're maturing.
That's the important part. So real quick then would be just to make note again of our social media outlets. The biggest one, VinoVolley85, which is our Instagram account. It's where we post, the different wines that we're going to be drinking and, upcoming teams that we are going to backpfeifen gesicht.
That's right.
That was it. The face that needs a fist and needed a fist. So the most punchable face. You always can email us at vinovolley85@gmail.com. So again, I always like to hear from our listeners for their thoughts on who the most punchable face is, as well as, just any thoughts they have on the show. But that's not why we're here.
It's not.
It's not. And I'm really itching to get into things. So to all our VinoVolliers out there, it is time to pop those corks, indulge in a healthy pour, and dive stud showing into today's episode. So, Rye,
yes,
this is the first for us, as the wine that we always drink is something that's bought from a store. So wine.com has a write-up. So this week, the wine we're going to be drinking is none other than one of my homemade wines.
That is correct.
Hot ice. And the reason for that is we always like to tie the episode to the wine is because we are chatting with none other than Christina Musto, who, her family, has been nice enough to sell us grapes year after year so that we can make this delicious wine. So, Christina, can you say hi to all our VinoVolliers out there?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me.
We're so happy to have you. Now,
I'm so excited. I feel like I'm talking to a legend because for so many years making wine together, it was like, oh, we're going to go to Musto Grapes. We're going to get the grapes. We're going to get the juice. And I never get to go.
Yeah.
I just waited at the end of the driveway like a kid waiting for his dad to take him fishing.
The myth,
Just-
the legend, right here on our own lowly podcast.
I'm so excited.
So, Christine, you're in for a special treat. Well, I don't know because this is new to me. So, essentially, we always when we talk about the wine, Ryan does like the wine.com, like kind of reads the write up about it, the tasting notes, and then that's when we take our first sip. So, as this is our wine, we obviously aren't on wine.com. So, I asked Ryan with his intellectual and fervor for the theatrical to come up with a write up for this wine. So you're going to listen to this and hopefully not be
I'm
shocked.
excited because I wrote my own tasting notes, so I'm excited to
Really?
see how I compare.
Oh, those are going to be a lot better than what I wrote.
Yeah, so that's actually
know about that.
I mean, we'll get into the because that's like one of my biggest not issues, it's just like where I feel like I'm lacking is how to pick up on tasting notes. So definitely want to hear what your thoughts were. I'm kind of nervous. I really don't know what's going to come out.
You're nervous. I'm nervous because I have to change my screen to read it, so I can't see Christina's face. So
It's okay.
It could be
I'll let you know
horrible.
if she's horrified, if she had to like throw open a bucket or anything. But I think we're ready. Christina, you
Yeah.
ready?
I'm
All right,
sure it'll be
Ryan,
great.
let's go.
All right. So this evening we are consuming hot ice, a homemade wine from yours truly. Not me, but you.
Correct.
Scholars have theorized for thousands of years the possibility of the perfect combination of fermentation, time, passion, and vitis vinifera. That's wine grapes, in case you were wondering. Enter hot ice. A Walton Pano brainchild, hot ice evokes the feeling of danger as you feel so vulnerable to its supple taste and texture upon the first sip. Any feeling of vulnerability is quickly overcome by the familiarity of juiciness of the triad of grapes, which were painstakingly crushed and processed, not by the feet of some mere peasants, but those seemingly of angels. The liquid pyramid of Syrah, Merlot, and Petit Verdot create a ballroom dance of flavor as they foxtrot along the taste buds. The bold oakiness from aging in a French oak barrel gives way to warm notes and feelings on the tongue, only mirrored by the same feelings in your loins. When hot ice has left you in a proverbial puddle of your own juices, you come to the full realization that one glass may not be enough. Have another glass. Hot ice dares you to. Pairs well with pasta, red meats, pizza, the laughter of friends, the screams of enemies, and Pony by Genuine.
That was
God.
absolutely incredible.
I did it.
You did it. Christine, have you ever heard a wine write up anything like that?
That's my new favorite. I'm not gonna lie. That was you had a lot of great one-liners in there. I don't know why Foxtrot just really set me off the edge for whatever reason.
I'm very happy.
Yeah, no, real great. That might be like a good side hustle for you guys.
Just
those
wine
up.
labels.
Not me. That's all Rye Guy there. I don't have the at least I don't think I have the flair for that. So
I only have so many talents.
all right, Christina, so now's the time to say cheers. Welcome to the show. Happy to have you, and let's take our first sips of hot ice. Alternate names for this were the Big Easy and Velvet Midnight.
Ooh, Velvet Midnight.
Oh,
So
I
the
might have
writer
gone
for
with that
Velvet
one.
Midnight would have been way more sensual.
Velvet Midnight, I think, is what epitomizes this wine just because it's super dark color and how smooth it is, or at least it is for me. The reason it's hot ice is because when we were in the fermentation process, it was the first year we actually bought like one of those big drums from you to do all of our fermentation into one bucket. And it kind of seemed we had a couple like raw cold days and it seemed like the fermentation just wasn't kicking off. So we kind of insulated it, and then it all of a sudden just kind of like skyrocketed and the temperature got really hot that Justin had to go out like in the middle of the night, grab like 10 pounds of ice and dump it on the wine so that the temperature kind of was brought down a little bit. So that's where we kind of stuck with the original, but Velvet Midnight is my in the heart of hearts. That's what it is. So I'm curious what your your tasting notes are. What do you get when you taste the wine?
Well, I mean, all right, I'll run through it. First, I
Please.
really get a lot of sweet plums and cherry, a little bit of strawberry. Then I did put the question mark oaked, which, American oak, so that's great. But it's a nice light oak. It doesn't overpower the fruit at all. It has like medium body, medium acid. It's got a good like mid palate, like it still just kind of stays through. It does jump out of the glass. And I got like golden raisins as well. It's got a good kind of like sweet fruit taste to it, but it's still like a little bit more complex than just the red fruit, which I thought was really nice. And I'm actually surprised because it is so young with how smooth it is. Normally this young of a wine feels a little bit, they call it like tighter, so a little bit more like bound up or whatever. And it's really nice and smooth and, drinks really easy. So Big Easy also I think would have worked great too.
Yeah.
Big easy would work too.
But yeah, you're definitely like close to like that, like they call it like the liquid cashmere, like that type of.
Oh God.
Oh, it's
It's
another good name.
string and gold together. Oh, and also I don't know why, but when you just said like the younger wine and bound up, all I could think of was just like, oh, it needs more fiber.
So for a homemade wine, Christina, in your expert opinion, how does it hold up with some that you might have tasted?
Oh, really great. Yeah, no, definitely up at the top. A lot of it's clean. There's no notes of any off flavors of any sort. And like I said, it's got good complexity, a lot of things going on in a good way.
Testament to the grapes we got, right?
Well, it does start with good grapes, but it also does, carry out to the winemakers and keeping track of everything. And I know you guys kind of play around with different types of fermentation supplies and things like that. So yeah, I think you guys did a great job.
Well, we appreciate it. I mean, big shout out to Justin because obviously it's all at his house. I'm there for crush and press, but like that whole week of punching the cap and testing the bricks, like that's all him. So big shout out because a big reason of the wines that we put out is because of his his attentiveness to the details and making sure everything's running smoothly. So
True labor of love.
yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
all right. So that's a good I mean, do you taste anything?
So as Christina was saying them, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. That makes sense. I taste that now. I just need someone to tell me what to feel. Like,
what am I feeling?
to just identify one thing more than another, or it's this, it's not that, but it is a little bit of this. That's where I kind of, aren't super polished.
Yeah. So, and Christina, did you go to school for wine?
Yeah, kind of. Undergrad, no, but I got my master's in wine business.
Okay.
Awesome.
And then I'm a certified sommelier with WSET, so I'm level 2. I did take level 3, but then I got pregnant in the middle of it, so I haven't completed that yet. But
How many
but yeah.
levels are there?
I think there's 6, 5, or it's 5 or 6, because then you go to the like Masters of Wine levels, and there's I think like at least 2 in there. So they might have even added more. I haven't looked in a while.
So I definitely want to circle back to the layers because now I'm super curious about like how you do and like how you test to go up levels and stuff. Where did it all start? Like what's your origin story?
But my grandfather started bringing in wine grapes back in the day. They used to bring them in on rail cars. They brought them in because we were actually originally like produce people, so they bring them in on their slower times of year, and pretty much like the grapes came off the truck, they just like stamped the boxes red, white, and off they went. So we've been doing that forever. And then when my father took over, and he really fell in love with wine. He's kind of, I think, he probably wished he was like a chef at some point. He's just like one of those people that likes to create. So, he really fell in love with wine, and people started putting, bottles of like Napa Valley cabs on his desk. And it's like, I want to make this, because really we just kind of brought in Central Valley stuff, which is also good, but there wasn't a lot of variety.
Mhm.
And it just kind of grew from there. It became its own entity. And then we went from kind of expanding the portfolio from Central Valley and Lodi to fast forward in 2000. I think it was like, we were just talking about it. I think it was like 2009 or no, 2007. We met the Lonzas at a trade show, and they are our growers in Houston Valley. And we ended up planting vineyards with them in 2009. So we own our own vineyards out in Aston Valley, California, which is in Fairfield, California. It's literally the town next door to Napa. So you have 1 foot in Napa, 1 foot in Suisun. Yeah, yeah, and the quality is fantastic. It's just and it's not Napa Valley pricing too, so it's much more affordable for the home winemaker. And at the time they had gotten we'd met them during the grape glut. So that was when people were just like dropping stuff on the ground. Farmers were going belly up. It was like a really bad time for grape growers. So we kind of all grew together with the whole home winemaking industry. And once we met them too, we kind of had always had like winemakers on staff and things like that. But then we got a little more serious into winemaking. I'm currently taking the UC Davis extension program. Hopefully I'll finish this year. And yeah, we just kind of been rolling since then.
So
Yeah.
how many vineyards do you have out in California?
We've got over, I think it's like 150 acres planted. That's actually like Lanza Musto vineyards.
Mhm.
But then like with where these grapes came from, they came from the Castamagna vineyards, which are one of our Lodi families. And the Castamagnas, my father has worked together like since I was a baby. So and even like our Central Valley growers, like they're it's like second generation now. And yeah, just kind of been working together since we were all younger. So it's a lot of it's a lot of like family companies.
Mhm.
And it's really great to be able to support more small businesses,
Sure.
as a whole.
How often do you get to, are you out there a lot to like?
Pre-kids I was.
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
For you is a little difficult, but yeah, hopefully I don't think it'll be this year, but next year. But I did live out there for about 5 years, 4 years. I went back, a couple times a year at that point. And yeah, it's we always tell people, if they want to go visit their grapes, we're transparent. So we literally give you the phone number of Ron Lanza, Burton Castamagna, whoever you want to visit. And they'll take you in their pickup truck and drive you through vineyards and check it all
Wow.
out.
That would be super cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And yeah, so I mean, if you guys ever do plan a trip to Napa, make sure to save a day for either Suisun or Lodi, and check out where your grapes are from.
Absolutely. I mean, that would actually probably be more of a draw than just like Napa itself is. I'd probably prioritize your vineyards. I think that's just really cool. So you obviously talked about like where your family started. Can we talk a little bit about like your personal wine journey? Obviously, you said you kind of gone through the layers of sommelier, but like when did you decide, besides obviously being a family business, that you personally wanted to take these next steps in the wine business? Was it something you always knew you wanted to do? Did you always have a love for wine, or was there like a turning point?
I think it was more just kind of like I always felt a pull to work for my family business,
Mhm.
but I wasn't sure where I'd fit. Over the years, every year harvest was just like all hands on deck. Like, I mean, I've been selling wine grapes since I was like 12. So, and just, been on the dock since I was little. And so there's always been a pull there just to, this is what happens in the fall for us as a family. Yeah, I really didn't start to get into it too much until like after college. Like in college, I was drinking like Carlo Rossi and like La Luna, like 1 liter.
Where oh,
So,
weren't we
the
all?
fancy
my
stuff
my hand's
from,
starting to shake.
you know. So, yeah. And then my dad would be gracious enough every once in a while to drop off some of the homemade stuff. And my friends loved it. But next day it was a little tough.
Sure.
But yeah, so I really started to kind of dive into it. After college, I worked at I moved to Philly to live with my sister for a little bit just to get out of Connecticut. And I ended up kind of working in some restaurants, bartending a little bit, and then ended up working at an IT company. So a couple random things, but for whatever reason, it all kind of brought wine to the table all the time. And then I saw, or actually my father saw this program opportunity because I was going to go back and get my MBA anyway, and then go to work with him. It was just the best opportunity that we could have found. And they were so excited to have an East Coast person there that I got right in. So I was real lucky. I was in the first cohort there. And that was just the best experience ever between all the people and all their knowledge that they brought. And then just kind of seeing the wine industry from multiple avenues. When I was living there and going to class, I worked in the tasting room. I worked as a cellar hand. I worked sampling in the vineyard. I worked on a like point of sale system. So I tried to kind of like understand it as a whole. And I really just kind of enjoyed it all together. I mean, I'm a big history person, and wine is history in a lot of
Okay.
ways, as well as, just like being out in nature and everything. So I just like how the two blend together. And so it's just something I always enjoyed. And yeah.
It's a great like it's a
It's
great
very cool.
story. The
Yeah.
fact that like generational, you and your family have like adapted to the different changes and kind of changed the business and changed the focus, and you are where we are right now, and I'm fascinated. This is just giddy.
Where would you say, and I feel like sometimes it just like changes where your palate is kind of like, I'm all about this. What would you say currently, like where would you say is your favorite, like is it a blend or a specific grape or a specific region? Like right now, like what wine do you crave?
I really love Pussy Syrah right now. I mean, once I was introduced to it, I really fell in love with it, but Christina Syrah for sure. It's just like a dark, inky, just
We call it
bold
squid ink.
red wine. Yeah, yeah, that's a great name for it. Yeah, yeah. So I just really love that. And then for the white wines, Sauvignon Blanc girl all the way.
Yeah.
Love a crisp Sauvignon Blanc. New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc is my favorite. I know that's like basic bitch to say, but whatever.
It's fine.
I love it.
We said you like what you like. That's
Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. I am not above Kim Crawford. Absolutely love it. And then yeah, but and two, just the bubbles, man. Any sparkling wine, I sign me up. All the sparkling wines are delicious.
Is there a type of wine or an area that you feel is like overplayed or not, or underrated, I guess, like both ends of the spectrum? Like, what's something that needs to go away for a while, and what's something that you think more people should either be drinking or know about wine wise?
I think it's not so much a region. I think it's more like, and this is also coming from a small business person, but I think it's the big box store wine, really. Like it's like the big, like anything with like a random ass animal on the label. Like I think that needs to go away. Like it's like most of it is not made from great stuff. There's a lot of other things in it. Like, so I'm more on the side of like, unfortunately, it's a little more expensive to pay for a more hands-on producer. You're looking at like the $30 range usually, and up. But I'm more a fan of something that has a story behind it. And I know half of it's marketing and some of it can be a little BS, but I'm definitely more on the side of the smaller winery, the winery that's, it sounds crazy, but some of them like harvest by the moon and like have like a cow horn, planted somewhere in the vineyard and crystals and whatever, just like crazy weird things.
Yeah.
I will say though, I'm not, I think that there are some people who do a great job with natural wines,
Mhm.
but I think there are a lot of people who are kind of trying to jump on the bandwagon and just making faulted junk that's out there. I will say that. I think there's some really good natural stuff. You can absolutely do it. But I think there's some people who are like throwing a snazzy label on something that smells like nail polish remover and charging like $70. And
Yeah.
just not a fan of that. That could go away. And then in terms of specific AVAs, I mean, I love Susan Valley. It's been really undervalued in general. People are starting to understand it more and recognize it. Kemis actually moved into the valley, and he has purchased. I think he's got over like 200 acres now, or something like that. He opened up a tasting room there, so he's starting to see the valley, and its value. And a lot of people from Napa are now kind of like checking it out. But and Paso Robles. Paso Robles is really fun because a lot of winemakers in Napa who couldn't, could only do the Napa cab, that's all they were allowed to do, went to Paso so they could like play around. And they're doing like Rhone varietals, weird fermentations, punch in barrels, like lots of weird, like different things that, the normal Napa Valley person wouldn't want because
Right.
they have something that they need to produce.
Yeah.
And you see it a lot in Lodi now too, because a lot of people in Lodi have diversified their businesses. They've gone from just being growers to having like their own little wine brand, and they're experimenting, they're playing around with it. Gary V actually has his own wine brand. I'm pretty positive most of the grapes are out of Lodi. So yeah, people are seeing value there, which is great. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of awesome stuff happening in California. And then I'm a big proponent of drinking US wines in general. I definitely love the more New World stuff just because they're kind of like the underdogs, like stuff from South Africa, stuff from Australia. Australia always gets a bad rap. There's a lot of good stuff from Australia. New Zealand Pinot Noirs are freaking phenomenal.
My mom had me try it. It's a Shiraz from Australia. It's got like a black dog or a black sheep on it.
Okay.
But I have to find it. But that is, I've had a couple Australian wines which have been really good. So it's cool to see, to hear you say that, because like I agree. Like, I mean, obviously Portugal has been around for a while, but I feel like the red blends are, they're kind of getting a little bit more credit, and I mean they're just phenomenal too.
Yeah, and Portugal's got way more than port too.
Yeah.
People don't
Oh, yeah.
realize.
I think my go-to now is Silk and Spice, for like $10-11, just nice, I think easy drinking red blend. But I think
Yeah.
one of these episodes we'll get into port, and Ryan will sleep over because
Oh god.
that'll be a long one.
Definitely.
I've been on a big, I mean, I've always been on a big Italian kick. It's just one of those things, but something about a Barbera just all day, every day, which
Barbera's
is like super popular and probably way too flooded in the market. So weed my way through.
What's in your favor though? Because you'll get a lot of good stuff, for reasonable pricing at that point. Because they're all competing. But Italy's one of the places, in Portugal too. They're two places that make a lot of natural wine, but they don't market it that way because that's never been like a gimmick for them.
Right.
A lot of it is just straight from the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it safe to say that you guys are more or less the biggest game in town on like the East Coast for grape and wine supply distribution? Would that be a safe assessment?
Yeah, there's a couple people who do like a smaller version of us, but yeah, for the most part, we're also like on call all year round too. We're open year round. Most people are seasonal, and we have educated staff to help you guys along. And because our biggest focus, which I think a lot of our competitors aren't focusing on, is you put so much effort into that wine. Like there's so much effort into that wine on so many different levels that it's like the last thing I want is for you to call me and be like, my wine's stuck, my wine doesn't taste good, something like that. So like we really dove into the education side of everything, just because we want to make sure everyone's successful and enjoys what they, what they're working on and what they need.
As one of those people, very much appreciate the accessibility. And I know, you've spoken to Justin, spoken to myself whenever we have questions. So it's obviously a huge help because in those moments, you're kind of like your heart's in your throat. You've put a lot of time into it, and it's always reassuring to get that immediate feedback and assistance of where you need to go. And so, yeah, from one home grower, thank you very much for your accessibility in that. So in that, and obviously great to toot your own horn. I figured that was the answer, but was there like a single moment, maybe as a kid or as an adult, where you kind of like looked around and realized like, you had become the biggest game in town? Do you remember if there was like a certain turning point where just like things took off, or has it just always been just a little bit here, a little bit there, where you've, gotten your hands in more pots and collectively as a family, as a company, grown?
Well, I think one of them was when we decided to do the vineyard project, and it was kind of am I allowed to swear? I'm sorry.
Oh, 100%.
Fuck yeah.
You guys were really swearing. Let's make sure. Yeah, when the vineyard project happened, we were kind of like, holy shit, this is a thing, this is a full-blown thing. But another time was we did have a competitor who walked one of his customers over and was like, talk to her, she'll tell you how to fix it.
No way.
That's awesome.
So that was a good feeling. And it was also like we have a couple competitors who are full on like not necessarily like friendly competition. And we have other competitors who are like kind of like family competition in a way. It's like there's enough to go around. Let me help you out. I'll help you out,
Sure.
you know. So but yeah, that was a good feeling.
That's pretty awesome. I would say, is there, if you can think, is there a single aspect of your job that you find, I'm guessing I might know the answer based on talked about the accessibility, but is there a single aspect of your job that you found most rewarding?
Um well, there's two actually, or three maybe. You know, first and foremost is, yeah, the accessibility, being able to see someone take, you know, pretty much, you know, just a fruit and create something wonderful that they love with their family, with their friends, and I love hearing the story about everybody's like wine party, you know, whether it's the crush party, the bottling party, or whatever snafus happen to, are always, you know, it's always fun to hear. I mean, because we've had snafus ourselves like millions of times. So it's, you know, it's just always fun to converse about that stuff. And then you know, just being able to work with the growers, you know, other families who truly care about the soil, their products, you know, their children are coming up the ranks, you know, that's kind of an honor in a way, just to be a part of that community. And then, you know, I'm really proud of the crew that we have. We've we've grown a lot, we've outgrown certain things, and we've really kind of come together and formed a really good space, and just kind of a great, another like mini family. And I don't know, it's just, yeah, it's a lot of, we're really lucky. We maybe, you walk into the store and you see us in the fall and we may look like stressed to the max and like all over the place, but we really do enjoy most things about it. And yeah, I mean, it's really the people, I guess, really is what I'm trying to say. It's people.
It's great. I mean, I would say, as far as like, I mean, I can't speak for you, Ryan, but as far as like Justin and I are concerned, like you're living the dream as far as like we are concerned. Like, and we get it. Like, I mean, I've seen you, and you're still able to answer those questions, but also while doing, as you said, 6 different things, helping several customers. While, you know, someone's coming from the back asking you where this is. So it's controlled chaos is the
Yeah,
way
that's
I
the way
would
to think about
it,
it.
you know, where it's just like it's all helter skelter, but it all fits, and it all works itself out. But it's quite a machine to kind of, you know, from the outs. I just come in, we've got our sheet, we pick up our stuff, but it is really cool to kind of see everything working. So,
Thanks, we work hard.
I have 2 questions.
oh, Raya's 2 questions.
2 questions.
He's a wild card though, so this could be a serious question or this could be a stupid question. I mean, a fun question. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I want to circle back to the levels of like being a sommelier, right? That's
Yep.
how does one go about starting that? Like, where do you like? Do I type in like sommelier school on the
Now
internet?
you can. There's so much now. When I first started out, there was like you had to go to New York and that was it. There were classes only in New York City or Boston. Now you've got all these younger people who, you know, honestly are just super smart. They've made like master classes. So you can do a lot of like online classes now. And I think even WSET will has online classes now as well for certain levels. But yeah, if you just, there's the Sommelier Society of America, which is out of Manhattan. That's one of the oldest groups and one of the more prestigious ones. You've got, there's another sommelier court. No, that's the other one. There's another sommelier something that's big as well. And then there's Wine and Spirit Trust, and
Okay.
that's like probably the most global in a lot of ways. And that's WSET, so they have a lot of different levels that you can take. And then there's Court Master Sommelier, which is pretty much the cream of the crop. Like if you've seen Somm, that's the test they're taking. That's what they're going through. They've like equated it to pretty much becoming a doctor, because you have to know, like, it's incredible what these people can do. Like even when I was in the level 3 class tasting with certain people, like especially like restaurant industry people, they get so much exposure to like all over the world stuff, things they can pick up on. But like someone who's a master of wine should be able to open that bottle of wine, taste it, be able to tell you the actual acidity level, residual sugar, alcohol level, region, soil components, obviously variety, possible clone, weather patterns, if there's anything historically valid there, like just run through a list of things. It's incredible, the stuff.
That is incredible.
And they have like two, I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 different tests that they have to take. Like they have like, it's like a full weekend of testing. But like one's like a tasting portion, or 2. Yeah, one's like a tasting portion and one's like a theory portion, which is I think a writing portion. But yeah, it's incredible. What they go through, number one. I mean, you have to taste like an alcoholic. You really got committed.
Professionally, a professional alcoholic.
Professional, yeah, functioning professional in that regard.
So like level wise, how do you advance?
Yeah.
Is it based on what you taste in things? Is it based on what you can produce both historically and weather-wise and all the, abiotic factors that go into the wine?
Yeah, so you have to know a lot of just background information about France, like the wine, the soil components, vineyard specifications. And then, but the biggest thing I think is more just what you can pick up on. You really have to train your palate to pick up on any nuances possible. Like a lot of these people will, like it's like a joke, but like the lick rocks, like, so they know that like this granite rock from this region tastes like this. So if this somehow comes up, on their palate,
it's in like a silty soil, or it's
oh yeah, they'll try dirt too. It's great.
I dig it.
It's I respect it because it's like, what they're doing, they're living for. It's amazing. And then the things that they can smell, a lot of them like do like they'll go like study with perfume makers to help train their nose. And it's really incredible what they do. The best person that really gives you kind of like a bird's eye view is VinoVolliers. I don't know if you guys have heard of her. Madeline, I think Luke is her last name. I don't remember her last name, but she has 2 books out. They're wonderful. They're like infographic style books. Mm-hmm. So you can it's just way easier to consume the content. And her blog, she has like daily stuff. She has like online classes now, but just the things that she dives into from a non-industry person, she really does a great job explaining it.
I feel like I might follow her on social media from the VinoVolliers account.
Yeah, she would be a great person. She's really nice, and she did the research. I think she's certified now on a couple levels actually. But
my other question, in your opinion, is it better to collect or to consume?
I don't know. I would say consume. I'm more of a like we're living in the here and now person. Like I'll open like a favorite bottle on a Wednesday. I'm not going to wait until 20 years down the line when maybe I'm like my taste buds are shot and I'm not going to enjoy it anyway. So I mean, it's one thing if it's a wine, like especially Italian wines, like a lot of those you want to age, like you buy like the futures version because it's like a little cheaper, and you want it to sit in your cellar and age like that. Absolutely wait for it. But otherwise, if you buy that fancy bottle and, I wouldn't wait to, consume it, obviously consume it on a day that maybe with some friends or with your, partner or whatever. But I just, I don't know. I don't see why waiting helps.
And I agree. And I used to be the other side of the fence. Like when we, when making the wine, I would be saving like 10, 20, depending on the year, bottles from each year. And then eventually I was just like, what am I doing? Like, why am I saving this? Like, we're having pasta, like, my wife's making sauce, or we're having, just like crack open a bottle. And now I have like one from each year left. So
it took a few years for you to come over to the dark side.
It did.
Because there was a while where, like Mike was just saying, he'd have his wine fridge, 120 bottles of wine. He's like, oh, how many do you have? I'm like, I have 12. From all the years we made wine.
Listen, I totally get saving some that you make too. Like it's just like a pride thing, or just like this took a lot of work, like I want to have it. And especially too, like, if you can save a couple and then, have a party and then taste everything, like this, like from this year, that year, and just kind of taste the differences or whatever, that's fun. But yeah, for the most part, I think you
Yeah.
should just enjoy it.
I think the hardest part was like with the homemade wine, we do these unique blends. It's not like once they're done, it's not like, oh, I'll just go out to the store and buy more.
Yeah.
It's like that's it, that's it. Like you may never
Yep.
replicate that magic in a bottle. Like this one is my favorite that we've done so far. And I'm just like, there's part of me that's just loves it so much, and then just like a tear that, we're just one step closer to the end of not having it again. But
Yeah.
so I guess kind of along the same lines, but a little bit different. Has there been like a single experience or that you like has been most memorable to you in the industry? I guess a little bit different than what you find rewarding, but like something that was just like maybe a cool moment or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. When we planted, I was living out there when we were planting LMP vineyards, which is like our second round of planting. And actually it was a Barbera vine. So I was there
Ooh.
for the planting of the Barbera, and I actually got to help put the greenies in and dig some holes. And yeah, it was really, really cool to be there on the ground level. And now it's like, I think it's like at least 10 years old now. So yeah, that was really cool. And then the other one was they let me drive the harvester one year, which I can't believe they let me do that. But it's like this machine that drives over the vine and like shakes the vine to get the grapes off and goes up a conveyor belt and then back into the gondolas. And we were harvesting some chard for a larger winery, and I got to do that like 3 a.m. It was pretty fun.
That's really cool. All I can think of, if you've ever seen the movie Son-in-Law with Pauly
Yeah.
Shore, is he gets like the big farm and he's like, "Thank God I'm a country boy." That's what I just pictured in my head with you at the harvester. Like,
Oh yeah, I'm sure they were like this. Yeah, this East Coast person or East Coast girl are like, she's gonna crash it, but it's pretty good. I didn't hurt the vibe.
no, that's incredible. Now, Ryan, because I have one last question. Do you have any others?
No.
So I guess the only question before we move on to the second phase is, what's the next big move for Musto Wine?
Well, we actually just got our winery license. So we are a full-blown manufacturer now, and we are not gonna like do a wine for the public, but we're gonna be doing like custom projects for wineries, and doing a little storage for them, and just helping like solve problems for them. We actually also put in a bottling line now, so we're kind of expanding into the wholesale world.
Very cool. So do you have other spaces besides the one in Connecticut, or where you're able to do some of this? Is this all happening at the warehouse?
So I don't know if you've seen when you drive down on Murphy Road, there's
Yes,
like
there's the other building.
yeah, so it's
Yep.
all in the other building. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Mhm.
Very nice. Well, that's
Yes.
awesome. Very excited for you.
Big things.
Yeah, big things are happening.
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you guys, if that's okay.
Sure.
What brought you guys to home winemaking?
So, what, you want me to take this one?
Yeah, I'll piggyback.
Okay. So, Justin, really, it was when I first started dating Jess, I was very much a beer and bourbon guy, and Justin was obviously big into wine. So he took us to, I think, the turning point where I would try and, like stuff here and there, but he took me to Jonathan Edwards,
Mhm.
and we went to order, and he's like, "Oh, do you want a red Zinfandel?" And in my mind, all I could think of was like the Sutter Home, like white Zinfandel. So I looked down and was like, "Do I look like a middle-aged white woman to you? Like, why are you asking?" And he's like, "No, idiot, not white Zinfandel, red Zinfandel." I was like, "Oh yeah, sure." So I tried it, and that was like a red Zin was like the first. I was like, "Wow, this is awesome." So it progressed where I started drinking more wine, and then I eventually was just like, you know what, I want to kind of try and get into the winemaking. Whereas I asked my lovely co-host across the table here if he would join me in the winemaking process, and so that's how we got started in it.
And I'm
Oh,
a sucker for a hobby.
you're a sucker for a hobby.
Yeah, I have far too many.
Correct.
And just from cooking and always being around wine and consuming, I thought it was something awesome to do with my bud. And we've made some awesome products over the years. And seeing the science behind it, because I'm a science teacher,
Oh, okay.
understanding how the chemistry and the biology goes into making wine was always super fascinating. The fact to see it in person, like you almost have to be a mad scientist to make a quality bottle of homemade wine, just blew me away. And the painstaking steps that go into making this bottle, knowing how Mike and Justin are, is awesome. And I had a blast doing it, and I love consuming it. So it's just a natural thing to fall into.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's great to hear. It's always good to hear why people got into it and, you know, that they're having fun with it and, you
It's
know.
become, but now like it's to me, like I see like the glass you have is wine to me now has become this, it's the experience. It's not just the wine, like it has to be the right glass. Like I remember we were heading down to Mystic for like a family holiday, like get together. And we were trying to think of like, all right, well, like what are we going to have in like the hotel room, a couple drinks before we go, you know, into the downtown area. And I was like, well, I would love wine, but I was like, I don't want to be drinking it out of like a cup, and I'm not going to bring like a really nice wine glass. But that's what it is for me. Like it's everything. And I think like start to finish, it's my favorite alcoholic experience. You know, like bourbon's great, tequila's great, but there's a burn, there's a discomfort to it. Like wine is just, it's from start to finish, like it's just amazing. So I think it's just, it's become now that I consider myself like very snobbish and I don't care. It's just like I like what I like, and you know what? To be damned, damn the rest of you, kind of thing. So
I like the pomp and circumstance of it, and not in like a pretentious way. Like something about opening a bottle of wine and just saying I'm opening a bottle of wine, it gives me warm fuzzies.
yeah, actually,
It
Christina, good question. What are your thoughts on more wines being a screw cap instead of a cork?
You know, I'm all about it. It's a different experience, you know. I think wines under a certain you know, under a certain price point, it makes sense and it's totally fine. But especially with like the cork supplies stuff. But you know, I do think that, you know, uh like a really big bold red deserves a cork,
Sure.
you know,
Teams
and
up.
like have that experience of uncorking it and
Mhm.
decanting it maybe, you know, or you know, just kind of enjoying it that way. So I'm definitely a little bit on the romance side of things with that, but
100%.
you know, I do like the ease of the, you know, of the screw capped for sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, before we transition to
The violent part of
the
the show.
violent part, which I'm sure you have a lot. I'm sure there's just a lot of built up violence there that you have for these Aston Villa players. Um, I guess the question we always is go back to the wine now that it's had a little bit more time to breathe. And we're really going to lean on you this episode because your tasting notes are far superior to ours. Uh, do you think that the wine has changed at all? Do you think that, or you think it's from the first sip, it's still staying pretty steady?
Yeah. If anything, it's gotten a little softer because there was a little bit more of an acidic feeling at very first sip. I also didn't decant it, so it's probably part of it too. But yeah, definitely a little bit more softness, which usually happens when you have a little bit of like microoxidation. It'll kind of soften out. That's the whole reason that they decant, is to kind of give it that little bit of, little soften it up a bit.
And is there, as you kind of talking about decant, is there like a standard time, like you decant it, like you should let it sit for X? Because we had a wine where it's like it should sit for, wasn't it like an hour?
It was at least an hour.
Wow.
Does it depend on the wine, or is there kind of like a universal, like, yeah, like 15-20 minutes and you're good to go?
Yeah, I'd say like 30, you know, is
Okay.
like a standard run of the mill number. You know, if you got something like a super Tuscan, like a Barbaresco, like something
Hell yeah.
big and bold like that, like, you
Yeah.
know, then I probably an hour would be, you know, more than fine. Probably tastes, you know, still probably good after 30, but you know, maybe an hour would be best. Um, but yeah, but normal, like, you know, everyday bottle, like 15 minutes is fine. And even still, again, it's not a necessity, you know,
Right.
it's just gonna be a little bit different. Um, But you're kind of splitting hairs at that point,
Yeah.
but that can also be fun. I mean, you can make it into like a fun tasting game in a way, taste it and then set a timer and then taste it again and see how it changes over time.
I like it. I mean, that's basically what this equates, because I just pop I take the cork out, I pop like a little aerator, and then pour it. So I think, over an hour and a half span, we do see some of these wines change because we don't really, give it that 30 minutes to the can. So it is kind of fun to see if we pick up on different notes, things like that. So very cool.
Yeah.
Now to our favorite part. Now, for our listeners out there, we chose Aston Villa this week because Christina's husband, Mike, great name, is an Aston Villa fan. Unfortunately, he had to fall on the sword for the children's bedtime, so he's not here. So, Christina, you don't need to go into too much detail, but can you share for our listeners who Mike's idea of most punchable face was for Aston Villa?
It was definitely the goalie. He
Okay.
said that it was a little bit douchey. And
Okay. Love
he
it. I
said
think that's the
that.
first time douche has been used on the podcast, and I'm here for it.
I need to be better now that I'm a mom.
No, you don't.
No, absolutely not.
No, you don't.
And then I guess like he was saying like his stats aren't that great. Like he gets like a lot of like pomp and circumstance, but his stats actually aren't that great.
Yeah. No, he's on my list. And to that whole you're a parent, you shouldn't swear. I was driving Eleanor to soccer like a couple months back, and someone was on the opposite side, just wasn't paying attention at the light. And it just kind of, ebbed and flowed out of me. I was just like, oh, look at this fucking ass hat. And so we're like, take the turn, and in her sweet, just like 4-year-old voice, Eleanor's like, Dada, who's a fucking ass hat? And I was like, oh, I was like, all right. So you just pick and choose your battles, kind of like the, do as I say, do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. You'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. It's just yeah. It's just funny how
but
when they swear they're so cute, it's like so hard not to laugh, and
Yes.
it's like, oh God.
But then you think back as like you were a kid and you swore, and like I remember as a kid it was always just like wash your mouth out with soap kind of thing. But like now you think back, like were my parents like trying to hold back like laughter when like I did something like that? It's just funny how it comes full circle. But,
Yeah.
My boys don't hold back.
No. Rye, would you like to go first on your most punchable face, or you want me to take it?
No, you go. You keep going.
Okay. So Mike's think alike. I also picked Emiliano Martinez. I went both for physical characteristics and both just who I think he is as a human being. So first, I think we're kind of in the Roald Dahl phase. So I think he's like the real life personification of the BFG. He just like has like just the big ears, just the goofy face. He is 6'5", so he's kind of like the big friendly giant, but
he's a big guy.
One I'd want to strike. And I think like he's had some big moments. Obviously, Argentina won the World Cup. He made that last ditch save against France. But he just like can't keep himself from doing stupid shit, which is why he makes these obscene gestures, these phallic gestures after winning the Golden Glove. He's probably one of the worst with time wasting, which we've obviously talked about on the podcast. Is like one of our biggest gripes. So he was my pick, and my honorable mention was Matty Cash. And the only reason why, and I looked at his face, and we all have kids, so this might be relatable, but like when I looked at his face,
You want to strike a child?
No, I'll make sense of it. Don't worry. When I looked at him, his face looks like the face of your child when they're kind of like been bound up and they're like grasping the table, trying to like force one out into the diaper. They make like this like very like flat face.
Oh my
And
God.
and the reason I said that was because, not that I want to strike a kid who's constipated, it's that
No, I
you
think
look
that
at
you
your
said.
child, you kind of feel their pain. You're like, oh my God, like get the problem out. So for him to make me relive that pain for my child is why he was an honorable mention for wanting to strike him. But
Polish national.
he's also,
He's got the Slavic face.
yeah.
So
So
it's only a matter of time before his hair goes.
that was my honorable mention, but Ryan.
Hold on, I got to scroll back and forth here.
Okay.
Never gonna be able to look at him the same now.
No, you really won't.
Yeah, Emiliano Martinez,
He's
a
the
solid pick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I mentioned before, that dude celebrates putting mayonnaise on a sandwich.
Yeah.
It's just like ripping the doors off the hinges in celebration. I struggled with this one because Aston Villa is probably my sneaky, no, obviously not favorite team,
No,
but like if they're on,
Luton Town.
oh, Luton Town. Like I don't hate them. I like their team. I don't. There's no one I necessarily hate on the team. They get some doozies of names on there. The person I picked though was a one Oliver George Arthur Watkins.
Ollie Watkins?
Ollie Watkins.
That's his full name?
I know.
That's
Which
a lot.
yeah,
That's a
which
lot
brings
going
me
on.
to a more separate, more important point. I understand in Hispanic culture, it's you're taking both the mother and father's name.
Mhm.
People over in the UK, we got to stop this. It's 2024. Like, it's my granddad, it's me pops, it's me other granddad. Like, we gotta shorten it down. The birth certificates are 10 pages long. Come on now, be better. We're gonna get an email about this.
Oh,
He-
I'll see him. I'll see Pat.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he's gonna have some choice awards for me. He looks like the British Patrick Mahomes, who, for whatever reason, he bothers me too. I don't know if it's the Kermit voice. I don't know if it's the weird.
That's as a lifelong Patriots fan. You don't like.
Maybe that's what it
any of
is.
the next
Maybe
generation.
maybe I'm
Don't
triggered
like
by it.
Patrick Mahomes. You're
Um,
projecting onto now Ollie Watkins.
yeah. I mean, granted, he's helped my fantasy team a few years. But I feel like he's like fallen off. He didn't I feel like he never reached the level he was supposed to reach. There was a lot of hype around him. I don't
I
know.
think he is the top goal scorer for the Premier League right now. Just FYI.
No shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
But anyway,
I don't read.
continue. Yeah.
So that's really it. It was his name. It was the Patrick Mahomes
Yeah.
lookalike thing that really got me. So again, there's not a whole lot of hatred there.
All right.
We get to choose a team next time that like brings out a visceral reaction. I want to flip this table.
Yeah.
That's it.
It. All right. Well, that kind of brings us to the closing stages. And in that, it's time to give our final thoughts and score for the wine. So I'll actually, Christina, I'll let you go last. I want to hear your last thoughts and then your score. So Rye, I want you to go first.
I'm gonna go first.
Yeah, he's gonna go first.
It really is incredible. And we've made some good wines together. This is by far the best that you guys have produced. Silky smooth. And I know that if anyone was to choose to put a bottle of this down, they wouldn't be hurting the next day. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like the amount of sulfites or lack thereof. The amount of bottles we've given out to people where they're like, I drank a whole bottle and woke up fine. And it was great. Do you have more of this? So it really is an incredible product. It obviously speaks from where the products came from and the care and attention and everything about it. I'm going 9.2.
Ryan
11.5.
Ryan is very passionate with his scores and it's always a little bit higher than mine.
Yeah, but this also has an emotional tie.
Correct.
I'm gonna start crying.
Just turn your camera off first.
I have a very ugly cry face.
So I mean, I agree. This is by far the favorite that we've put out. Also, too, I think like the heavy Syrah really is where when you talked about how palates change and what you're into right now, like a heavy Syrah or like a petite Syrah, as you said, like those very inky, bold. So this is right in my wheelhouse, and I think it's just Velvet Midnight is a perfect way because it is just so dark and it's just as it mellows out, as it opens up, it gets just even silkier to drink. So I love it, but I'm gonna go. I think this is for me an 8.6, and that's my score.
You're very humble.
So Christina, now let's give the honest thoughts, no bias aside. Hit us with it, and I promise I won't openly weep on the podcast.
No, I was gonna say a 9.
No way.
Yeah.
You're lying.
Actually, no, I'm real surprised that you discounted yourself there. No, I mean, because it's got good body. It has good alcohol to it. I can tell it's a little bit higher, but it's not like it's not burning you in any way. You know, there's zero faults to it. It's very clean. It's very smooth. It's got, you know, good tannic structure, and it's got a couple like they call it tertiary, which is usually like tertiary notes, and it's usually like notes that come from like aging. So I don't know, like it's kind of when they start to bust out like the cigar box or like you know, earth, just like those types of notes. You know,
The notes I
diff-
never find. I don't think I go back.
Yeah.
I don't think I get past like primary, even into secondary, never mind tertiary.
That means
Yeah.
3.
I got it.
But it's definitely got multiple layers to it. So, and for wine that you had no temperature control like you would in a normal winery, you had to throw ice in and all that stuff. I mean, usually if you got to throw ice in a fermentation, you lose that bouquet and you have that solid. So, yeah, no, I would say a 9.
Wow. I'm probably you're gonna have to chain me to like I think I'm just gonna be floating.
Dude, I'm telling you, this is really good.
Yeah, it is. And the oak is nice. Like I like oak, but I'm not on the side of like tasting the barrel oak. Like I want the nuance, but I don't want the actual barrel itself. Like I think it's just like it's well done there. So yeah, no, I'm very impressed, especially tasting your wines over the years. They were always very good. But this is definitely the most complex that you guys have made that I've tasted at least.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
This was awesome. I am fascinated. The story is incredible. And just what you do and the product and having the family is really incredible.
Thanks. I'm excited that you guys are, all of your families are coming together and you're making it a tradition for your families and friendships and everything. It's great to see the next generation because it kind of falls off. So it's nice to see. And I love podcasts, by the way. I have listened to multiple episodes. Only 2, but I listened to a couple, and your banter is great. It's definitely very entertaining.
All right. So now that we've given our final thoughts and scores on the wine, and again, Christina, I'm still floored. I can't believe I'm so happy. I feel like now I'm ashamed. I lowballed my own wine, but couldn't be happier with the score. So we'll obviously appreciate you and
So much.
For coming on. I mean, this was
Entertaining 2 jabronis with a
this was great. You
podcast.
got it now. Everybody who follows Musto Wine Grape, you got to tell them to listen to the podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We want this to be our most listened to episode because it really does kind of showcase you, your family, the business, and all in a positive way. So, Rye Guy,
Yes. That's me.
can you tell the people what they have to look forward to for next episode?
Ooh, next episode, we're going back to store-bought.
I know, right?
Whatever.
It's boring.
We are going to be drinking the Brecca. It's a Garnacha from the Bodegas Jorge Ordóñez vineyard.
So the reason for that Spanish wine is because next episode we are going to be discussing the Messi Ronaldo effect. And obviously at the height of both their careers, they were at Real Madrid and Barcelona. So, the Spanish league. So that's why we're doing a Spanish.
Oh, you beat me to it.
Yeah, I know. Spanish wine. And so we'll kind of just talk about like not only the impact on the game while they played, but once they've gone to different teams, like the impact they have on other leagues, stadiums. There's a lot to talk about. And culture. So a lot to chew on. But
I'm rolling my R's. I'm hitting you with Enyes left and right. Wearing an extra tight t-shirt. I can't wait.
So with talking about Messi and Ronaldo, the team for most punchable face is going to be none other than Manchester United.
I am going to have a closed fist the entire episode.
Like just
get some extra spackle.
Okay. So Christina, one last thank you for joining us. Again, we appreciate your time, but again, just really a special thanks for being our special guest.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. It was great to chat with you and great to try your wines. It was fun.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye, guys.
That was incredible.
All right, guy. I mean, a 9.
I'm starstruck. I literally felt like we just talked to a
She-
celebrity for however long we've been doing this.
she's awesome. And I mean, like, just super accessibility. I mean, and just super personable, and someone who you can tell, like, her family cares about what they do, and it shows the care they give to, you know, home winemakers like Justin. And so it's awesome. But we'd love to keep going. But after VAR review, we are officially out of wine, and thus we'll need to put the final cork into this episode and say, listen to us next time on another exciting episode of Vino Volley. So Ryan, take us to the finish line.
All right. Until next time, folks, remember to sip and soccer responsibly. We bid you a Freddie adieu.